Now let's talk about how to delay your periods. Now here's a scenario. You might have your wedding coming up, or you might be going traveling, or maybe you've got some exams, and the last thing you want to worry about is having periods, especially if they're heavy or painful. Now a lot of women do not actually know that there is something that they can take to delay your periods. So let's talk about the options. One of the most popular options is a hormonal medication called Norethisterone. Norethisterone is the man-made version of the natural hormone called progesterone, and is usually found in smaller amounts in your methods of contraception, such as the combined pill for instance, and higher doses are used for delaying periods as well as other indications such as endometriosis or heavy vaginal bleeding due to fibroids or other reasons. Now, Norethisterone helps to delay your periods by maintaining the levels of progesterone, which usually drops, that leads to lining of your womb being shed. So Norethisterone prevents the lining of your womb being shed, therefore you do not get any periods. So how do you take Norethisterone? Norethisterone is usually taken as a 5 mg dose 3 times a day, and it should be taken 3 days before your period is due or 3 days before the event, whichever comes first. So for example, if you had your wedding on the 3rd of April and your period was due on the 5th of April, then ideally you should take your Norethisterone 3 days before your wedding as opposed to before your period. That way you will stop your period from coming up on the 5th. Now, if you're to take Norethisterone for 7 days and you stop the medication, you would expect your periods to return within 3 days of stopping the medication. Now, Norethisterone is not actually a long-term medication for delaying periods, so it is usually advised not to take Norethisterone for more than 30 days, and Norethisterone has its own risks. For example, Norethisterone, as I mentioned, is a progesterone, but it can be converted as estrogen in the body, which is similar to the combined pill. So long-term use can increase the risk of blood clots, especially if taken with the combined pill, and if you have other risk factors such as a raised BMI of over 30, if there's a personal history of breast cancer, or if you have a family history of DVT for instance. Norethisterone on its own is also not reliable as a contraceptive, and like I said, it's not usually taken on a long-term basis, so though it might help to stop the sperm from fertilizing the egg, you cannot rely on Norethisterone as a contraceptive. I mean, the side effects of Norethisterone are usually common with any other hormonal medication such as headaches, nausea, weight gain, and some people can get acne from Norethisterone. Now, if you get side effects from Norethisterone or you're not able to take Norethisterone due to the risks, there is a similar progesterone called Provera or medroxyprogesterone. However, this is not a licensed indication for stopping periods and is given at your doctor's discretion. Unlike Norethisterone, Provera is not converted to estrogen in the body, so therefore you do not have the same risks as you would have with Norethisterone, such as the risk of blood clots. Now, if you're not keen on taking Norethisterone or Provera, your second option is to go on the contraceptive pill. Now, if you're already on the combined pill, rather than having that 7-day break, you would usually take the combined pill back to back. So therefore, you will not have any periods during that 7 days. Also, if you're on another contraception such as the mini pill, you usually do not have a 7-day break as you are taking the mini pill continuously, so you might not have periods. However, there are a few women who still get periods on the mini pill, so these women would need to go on alternative medication such as Norethisterone or an alternative form of contraception. However, the problem with swapping from one contraception to another is that there is no guarantee that this medication might work, as it takes a few weeks or months before the contraception starts to take effect in the body. For instance, some women can experience spotting or bleeding with change of contraception. And as I said, if you're starting a contraception for the first time, if you're not already on a contraception, it takes a few weeks for this to work. So it is not usually the preferred option unless you're looking for long-term contraception at the same time. Now, there are other methods of contraception you can use to delay your period, such as the coil, for example. The coil has a license of 5 years, so you can not have periods for 5 years while on the coil. However, some women can still experience some spotting and bleeding and lighter periods while on the coil. Another option is the progesterone injection. Again, this has a license of every 12 weeks. However, after stopping the progesterone injection, you might not get your periods for up to 9 months, and this can lead to anxiety in a lot of women. Other methods include the implant, which is usually placed under the skin of the arm. You've got a vaginal ring as well, and you've also got a patch, which is usually applied onto the skin. These methods are ideal if you're looking for long-term contraception, i.e. over 6 months, where you'd expect to have either lighter periods or no periods at all. Also, there are other more natural methods, which I'm not really going to cover in this topic, but for example, it is known that exercise, usually intense exercise, can help to delay your periods, but this is not a recommended form of delaying your periods. So my recommendation to delay your periods, if you're not keen on contraception and you have no risk factors, then you should take Norethisterone 5 milligrams 3 times a day, 3 days before your period. If you've had side effects to Norethisterone or you do have risk factors for Norethisterone, then the other option is to take Provera 10 milligrams twice daily. I hope you found this video quite helpful. If you have any further suggestions, please feel free to drop some comments, and you can check my channel for further similar videos on women's health.